The year is 1996. You awaken on Christmas morning and eagerly run downstairs, ready to open your gifts. The anticipation grows as your eyes fixate on the big box in the back that's being saved for last. Eventually, it's finally handed to you. You tear open the paper to see a PlayStation 1, the only thing you wanted for Christmas this year. You give your parents big hugs and a genuine thank you. You know they must have scrounged up every last cent to purchase it, and the loan game included within. You plug the console into the TV, but as you turn it on for the first time, you feel a hand resting on your shoulder. You turn around and there he is, Segata Sanshiro, and he is pissed. You can see the disgust in his eyes as he gazes upon your PS1 with scorn and hatred, and you know in your heart that your beloved gift will not be making it to the end of the day. He physically slams a Sega Saturn down upon your beloved new console so hard that it completely destroys it, leaving only one machine behind. He utters his immortal catchphrase
Sega Saturn Shiro
as he walks away, leaving you only with a controller, a Saturn, and Sonic R, baby! In the 90s, Sega released their console, the Saturn. It sold some units, maybe. To promote this console in Japan, they introduced the world to Segata Sanshiro, the toughest man I have ever seen. And if you weren't playing Sega Saturn, he'd make sure you were by the end of the commercial. Today, I'm going to be telling you his story, with some help from my friend Devnul, from the YouTube channel Devnul.
Hey, I'm Devnul, and I like to talk about commercial mascots, so today's topic seemed like a natural fit for us to collab. Segata Sanshiro was introduced towards the end of the Sega Saturn's lifespan in 1997. He's a parody of the character Segata Sanshiro from the film Sanshiro Sugata, a judo master. Sanshiro is portrayed by Hiroshi Fujioka, most famous for his role in the Kamen Rider franchise. The ads are steeped in these sorts of Japanese pop culture references and parody. Even Segata Sanshiro's theme song, yes, he has a theme song, you could even buy a single of it, is written and performed in a similar style to the original Kamen Rider theme, Let's Go Rider Kick.
Jesus Christ, he made that man explode!
I mean, you gotta admit, song's a banger though.
Yeah, you're right. The early Segata Sanshiro commercials are mostly centered on him beating the tar out of any civilian who is not playing the Sega Saturn at that exact moment. Coming home from the batting cage, having a fun night out at the club, making a YouTube video about 90s commercial mascots. Wait! I did play a Sega Saturn game in order to make this video. I'll tell you all about it later. I promise. Whew. After leaving his opponents in a heap on the floor, he utters his immortal catchphrase.
Sega Saturn Shiro.
This is a bit of a pun. Not only does it sound a lot like his name, but it could translate to either "you must play Sega Saturn" or "Sega Saturn White," serving as both a command and an advertisement for the Saturn's snazzy new color variant. Thankfully, he did not beat up the children in the Christmas commercial, but he did make them cry. I was on the fence about trying these games out, but seeing these children have their day ruined has really made me want those demo discs he's advertising. There's even a trial version of Sonic R in there. What's not to like?
The later ads trend away from Segata inflicting physical harm on innocent bystanders in favor of doing things like training in the mountains, playing sports in ways that aren't quite correct, and even trying to perform CPR on an unconscious person. He's not exactly helping, considering the building is burning around the person, so there may be some more pressing matters at hand, but it's the thought that counts. He does throw a guy at a soccer ball, but that was to win a match, not because he wasn't playing the Saturn.
I'm a little conflicted on these later ads. I like that we've humanized Segata a little bit by giving him other personality traits and goals in life, but part of me likes the idea that he exists entirely as a killing machine who cares not for the well-being of others, only for whether or not the Sega Saturn is being played. I don't blame him too much though. If there were this many people not playing the Saturn in Japan where it outsold the Nintendo 64, imagine what it would have been like if he'd tried whipping American American and European gamers into shape. That might have been too tall an order even for him.
Segata's love for Sega never waned though, as he would perform the ultimate sacrifice for them in his final commercial. Sega is preparing to launch the Dreamcast when an evil company, implied to be Sony, attempts to launch a missile into their headquarters. Luckily for them, however, Segata is there holding the missile back with his bare hands before redirecting it into space.
Sega Saturn Shiro. Sega Saturn Shiro. Sega Saturn Shiro.
Wait, he dies?
Oh yeah, the commercial series concludes with him looking down at Earth lovingly from the stars, always there to support Sega, if only in spirit.
That's really beautiful.
It is, isn't it? I like to imagine he's still up there, smiling down on us all.
So, Segata was invented to sell video games, but in October 1998, only a month before the Dreamcast's release, he got his own video game. Segata Sanshiro Shinken Yugi, developed by Echolay Software, is a minigame collection that seems to serve as a final tribute and memorial to our beloved hero. That commercial of him exploding is actually, in fact, a commercial for this game. It's alright, I guess. It's got 10 minigames with, frankly, pretty ridiculous win conditions. If you do manage to clear a minigame, you unlock one of Segata's commercials, which you can view in gloriously compressed FMV quality. If you fail, you are shown this commercial, where Segata trains in the forest.
We came to the conclusion that the purpose of choosing this commercial to show the player upon failure is to encourage them to keep training. Maybe one day you'll be as good as Segata Sanshiro himself. Who am I kidding? No, you won't.
A number of radio commercials are also featured here, like this one for Neon Genesis Evangelion, Girlfriend of Steel.
新世紀エヴァンゲリオン
Segata Sanshiro エヴァンゲリオンは命がけで打ち込んでいる。結局薬局放送局で綾波さん結局薬局放送局ですね。
He's like overlapping himself.
何が言いたいんだ。
アドベンチャー大作新世紀エヴァンゲリオン鋼鉄のガールフレンド絶賛発売中
Sega Saturn Shiro.
Interesting one.
Nice.
Now listen, you know me. I would give my firstborn son to see Segata smile at me with the pride of a father in his eyes. I'm certainly not going to clear all these minigames, but I have to beat at least a couple for him. The first minigame is called Dance Dance Segata.
What?
No,
That was right.
absolutely right.
I did not beat Dance Dance Segata. In this minigame, Segata gives you combinations of button inputs and you have to memorize them. They get longer as time goes on, and in order to fully satisfy him, you need to get 60 points, which is easier said than done. The GameFAQs guide I found, which I've also used to source English titles of the minigames, suggests that this game can be beaten very easily by writing down the button commands as they go by. But I feel like that would be going against the spirit of the game. I wouldn't dare dishonor Segata Sanshiro like that. This game is about the will of the mind, not about cheating!
He does just say play Sega Saturn. He doesn't say be good at Sega Saturn.
That's true. I think as long as you're spending time with it, you're hitting the buttons,
Yeah.
I think he's happy.
The next minigame is Bomber Person Fight, where you grapple with this little robot dude and knock him into these landmines, excuse me, while you avoid them. You have to blow him up 10 times in a row to fulfill the win condition, but Segata can only explode once before it's game over. This one's pretty tough to figure out. The guide says that you should try to use the D-pad when the robot tries to full body grapple you, and to use one of the face buttons when he tries to flip you in order to cancel the move. Things got a little better when Jonii put these strategies into action, but the game is still extremely difficult, so I guess it's back to the drawing board.
Come on. There we go.
Something has changed.
So much of this feels like chance.
Something has changed,
Yeah,
for sure.
I do think weirdly, I think you hold the D-pad in a particular direction, but then when you're trying to cancel his flip, I just rapidly tap the button and it seems to work fine, so... Oh, come on.
Merry Christmas! Segata's come, bearing gifts.
Oh my god. We throw him in an...
Well,
Well, I guess we're not
Okay.
supposed to crash into the houses.
This one was not a lot easier than the other ones. Segata Sanshiro is basically a shmup where Segata has to deliver gifts down every chimney in Japan through flocks of birds and like rock tunnels? I had no idea that sleigh riding was such a dangerous profession. This starts off easy enough, although the longer it goes on, the more difficult it is to deliver presents while avoiding obstacles, especially because of the annoying arc he throws them in. The goal is to get presents into at least 70 chimneys, and yeah, I ain't doing that.
Next up is Cranium Crisis, where you've got to smash all these boards using Segata's head. This one, for some reason, is played like a golf game where you have to time up your button presses in such a way that one arrow is as close to the top as you can get it, and the other is as close to the bottom as you can get it. You can't go into the danger zone though, or Segata will suffer.
Maybe, I wonder what the optimal... Oh no, his head just explodes if I do that.
On paper, this one's simple, but it's crazy precise. You get 3 attempts, and you need to score a grand total of at least 40 points. The highest you can get in any given round, if you're pixel perfect, is 14, which means you're going to need at least 1 perfect score and 2 near perfect scores. If you score below a 12 at any point, you might as well just start over.
One of the easier minigames is Panzer Count Un. Something tells me that's not the official title. Where a bunch of little Segatas ride by on dragons and you have to count them.
What the hell is going on?
Oh, you have to count the Segatas.
Oh, I ain't been doing that. I love he's superimposed over. He's like, oh, there's one.
You have to go through 10 rounds, but I did eventually beat it, unlocking the commercial for Panzer Dragoon Saga. That's 1 down. So far, so good. No, this commercial's pretty good. Maybe I should go buy the... Jesus Christ!
You know what this game needs? An auto runner. This is 15 Floor Dash, a game where Segata needs to run up 15 floors of a burning building. He runs on his own, and you control whether he moves up or down and when he jumps. The jump is really floaty, and the only way to avoid a lot of these obstacles is trial and error. Definitely one of the more frustrating minigames in the package.
Now we're more than halfway through at this point, and I've only succeeded at clearing 1 minigame. My desperation is building. Maybe I'm not a worthy disciple. Luckily, the next minigame, Match Game, is really easy. All you have to do is match the picture you're given with every face that looks like it.
Yeah, that's it. Hey!
Nice.
Surely that was not the whole game. Surely he's not going to reward me for performing such a menial task. Surely we're not unlocking a commercial right now.
I beat this one on my first try, unlocking the commercial for Dragon Force 2. Maybe I am worthy.
Next is the ice skating minigame, Winter Feet. Whatever's going on here is definitely somebody's fetish.
Ew! I do not want to look at Segata's feet anymore.
In this one, you have to hit a button to alternate which one of Segata's feet is on the ice. The key here is to sort of develop a rhythmic pattern and then gradually ramp it up so that he moves faster. The goal is to reach 100 kilometers per hour, which is significantly easier said than done. If you fail, Segata freezes in a block of ice.
Maybe I'll have more luck with Kick the Various Heavy Objects. Not the most original name I've ever heard for a game. Can we talk about how they've superimposed Fujioka's real-life JPEG head over this sprite? Usually they pick if they're using digitized images or fully drawn sprites, but for this one they did some kind of early Newgrounds level Frankenstein of the two. It looks real weird. I kind of like it. Anyways, in this one, you've got to kick all these flying objects into the trash until you've accumulated 16 tons of it. This one's still a little tricky. You can only take so much damage, and it's tough to tell what exact angle you're supposed to hit some of these things from. But after a few attempts, I managed to make Segata proud, unlocking the commercial for the baseball game Greatest 998.
The final game included is Sanshiro's Mean Fish Machine. Wait, what? Slow down there, Game Facts Guide from 2003. That's not the direct translation at all. I'm using more direct translations of the Japanese names of these games for my video, and this one actually translates to something a lot closer to special training. Even the ocean is my battlefield.
And to be fair, the Japanese name of Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine isn't Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine either. But hey, Either way, I'm good at that one, so this should be a piece of cake.
Hold on there, partner. This may be a match 3 puzzle game similar to Puyo's match 4 type gameplay, but this is by no means the same thing. The goal is still to clear combos. As a matter of fact, every time you clear a row, the water level in Segata's tank lowers and he's able to live another day, at least breathe another few seconds. But 3 things fall at a time instead of 2, and you can only flip them vertically, making it a lot harder to land big combos. You can clear rows diagonally in addition to horizontally and vertically, but that's a hindrance as often as it is a help. Despite our efforts, Segata, unfortunately, didn't make it.
Oh shit. Well. Oh my god. I'm sorry, Segata. I have failed you.
Give up. Listen to his command.
I guess you can't chastise me for not playing enough Saturn from the afterlife, right? This game is definitely a fun curiosity, and it's super helpful for archiving all of Segata's commercials, as crunchy and compressed as they may be, but regretfully, I don't think I can recommend it. It's not quite up to the usual Sega standard.
Maybe that's because Sega outsourced it to a company called Echolay. They weren't exactly known for their quality. They're actually probably the most well known for creating the infamously bad Saturn light gun game, Death Crimson. They also had another brand called Reindeer, which they used to distribute adult visual novels.
What? Are you shitting me?
Nope, look it up.
I will, for
research purposes.
Go for it. This whole thing just baffles me even more. Like, why did Sega choose this company for their beloved mascot? Some tribute this is.
During the Saturn's life, there were various other forms of Segata Sanshiro memorabilia, like phone cards, at least 2 action figures, and a plush puppet with a few variants, one of which showcases him carrying his iconic Sega Saturn on his back. There's also this little phone strap featuring the most chiseled and masculine chibi depiction of a character I've ever seen. I'd attach this to my phone now and be the coolest person in a 12-mile radius. If you attach this to your phone in 1995, they'd probably just declare you king of the world. I don't think there was any additional merch after the Saturn's heyday, but that's not to say our beloved Warriors legend was forgotten. Segata would go on to have a few other assorted cameos and appearances over the years, including in video games. For example, despite being absent for most of the Dreamcast's lifespan, he did appear in the Japan-only game Rent-a-Hero No. 1, a remake of the Genesis game Rent-a-Hero. In this game, some creepy old dude gives you a hero costume and a Creamcast. Oh, it's time for Duke to come inside. So you can become a hero for hire for the people of your town. In said town, there's a dojo run by a strangely familiar looking man. It doesn't seem like he's ever named directly, but the operator of the dojo is clearly Segata Sanshiro, and he teaches the player new moves throughout the game. Upon being given a flyer for the Rent-a-Hero service, he even starts to reminisce upon his days as a hero. In the cancelled English localization of this game for the original Xbox, the dojo is changed into a college, making me wonder if Segata would technically be able to put college professor on a resume. Segata next made a small cameo in 2012's Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed, on the course Race of Ages. Here, he can briefly be seen riding the rocket from his final commercial, with the implication either being that A, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed happens to take place at a very particular moment in 1997, or B, Segata Sanshiro has been riding Sony's rocket around for 15 years, seemingly with no need for oxygen or food, persisting off of the pure will to keep the Saturn dream alive. Lastly, and perhaps most interestingly, Segata appears in the 2016 3DS crossover game Project X Zone 2. If you're not familiar with Project X Zone, I need you to sit down and close your eyes. Okay, are they closed? So imagine a tactical RPG developed by Monolith Soft that has a mix of characters owned by Sega, Bandai Namco, and Capcom. Now imagine that game gets a sequel, and one of the playable units in that sequel is Segata goddamn Sanshiro. I'm not kidding. These are all real screenshots from an officially licensed game. This game did actually get localized, but I ain't buying that. Maybe one day I'll talk about these more when I'm ready to invest some time and money into them, but for now, let's just talk about Segata's appearance. You first encounter Segata in the game's 21st chapter, which is named "You Must Play Sega Saturn," after his catchphrase. He introduces himself as
a man who loves himself, who believes in himself, who surpasses himself. A man who has mastered the art of play and now stands at its zenith.
This immensely confuses Yuri and Flynn from Tales of Vesperia. Yuri says he's not playing games, and this of course enrages Segata, who initiates battle. After the fight, Yuri and Flynn explain the stakes of the story to Segata before the rest of the cast run in to see what all the commotion is about. And at this point, things become interesting. For, you see, Segata and all of the Sega characters, including those introduced in a post-Saturn world like Ryo and Ulala, know each other. He especially appears to be good friends with Sakura, protagonist of the Japan-exclusive Saturn title, Sakura Wars. Believe it or not, this is actually a callback to a commercial for Sakura Wars 2, in which Segata and Sakura appear to be in what I can only describe as deep, deep love with each other. The attention to detail in general is incredible. When you first meet Segata, his theme song plays in the background, and Hiroshi Fujioka returns to provide new voice work. He also gets unique dialogue with some characters, depending on who you pair him with. Despite being a crossover between Sega, Bandai Namco, and Capcom, it also contains 3 guest Nintendo characters, those being Lucina and Chrom from Fire Emblem Awakening, and Fiora from Xenoblade Chronicles. So, if you've ever wanted to see Segata Sanshiro interact with them, now's your time! The lore implications of Segata coexisting alongside and being aware of the existence of Sega characters who were introduced after the Saturn's untimely demise does raise some questions, though. Reiji from the fucking Japan-exclusive PS2 game Namco X Capcom even points out that Space Channel 5 doesn't even exist until the distant future, questioning how Segata could possibly be aware of it, to which he mysteriously shrugs off the question. Is Segata an omnipotent being, knowing of every character in Sega's past and future? Is he some kind of mythical Sega god? Project X Zone 2 probably isn't canon to the games these characters come from. Like, I don't think Jill Valentine or Ulala is going to remember these events in their main series, but does that mean it's also non-canon to the Segata Sanshiro mythos?
I'm going to entertain the idea that this game is canon to Segata lore for a second. It seems like Segata Sanshiro is basically the god of the Sega multiverse. He's all-knowing and all-powerful, and since Project X Zone 2 came out in 2016, well after Segata met his tragic fate, we could be seeing a version of Segata where, after being yeeted from this mortal coil, he transcends his humanity and becomes the concept of Segata Sanshiro. Much like the story of Christ, the mere man Segata sacrificed himself and died for our sins, only to ascend and be reborn, watching over us all from above.
On September 25th, 2020, some friends and I watched Sega's conference at the Tokyo Game Show that year.
Alright, I just typed, I will rip off my left nut if I don't see Echo in the next 20 seconds.
It was a random Monkey Ball, guys. The Super Monkey Ball Gate series starring Ai the Monkey from computer game Super Monkey Ball, Ai and Gon-gun.
Oh my god, it's a copy pasta.
Period, Mimi and Baby 2, period, where ST he go the exclamation point damn good name.
They're all shouting I poo. The Monkey Ball fans have been so restrained the whole stream and now they're just letting loose.
Long story short, they did not announce a new Monkey Ball game that day. But what I did see deeply excited me.
Oh my god, dude.
But let's back up a little. 2020 was Sega's 60th anniversary, and despite the pandemic-related delays and whatnot, they still celebrated it with many exciting announcements, like the Game Gear Micro, baby! Woo! That's what we like to see. We love it. We love to see it. It's all about the Game Gear Micro, baby. Let's go! But most excitingly of all, on March 19th, Sega began teasing something that freaks like me have wanted since our moment of conception. Their Japanese Twitter account posted a mysterious picture of a judo gi. Some fans already picked up on a possible connection to the worst nightmare of every child alive during the year 1997, but the next day brought even more news. On their 60th anniversary site, a mysterious webpage was unveiled, declaring that there were only 6 days remaining until a dramatic birth, alongside a silhouetted photo of a man wearing clothes that you should recognize all too well. Finally, on March 25th, the webpage was updated, revealing 2 commercials with an eventual third following, starring a new character, Sega Shiro, the high school-aged son run of Segata Sanshiro. They've since unlisted these videos, but they still exist through fan re-uploads, so let's watch them. Get your popcorn, gamers. When Sega Shiro was but a child, Segata made him study the ways of Sega, and it is now his mission to spread the good word. You think Sega Shiro ever went on like the Sega Crusades and like traveled to various countries trashing any like Nintendo or PlayStation he sees in sight? Maybe burning down a couple international Nintendo HQs? Call it a mission trip. He's just spreading the good word, you know? Good word.
Sega Shiro, それスイッチ?
セガだよ。
それサングラス?
セガだよ。
それリュック?
セガだよ。
Oh look, he even wears the Saturn on his back like his dad. This whole ad campaign is super charming and was clearly done with a lot of respect for the original Segata Sanshiro ads. We can see from this behind the scenes video that Sega Shiro's distinctive anime protagonist clothes blowing dramatically in the wind effect was accomplished by using a fan and some type of string mechanism. It's real charming. Sega Shiro is actually portrayed by Maito Fujioka, the real life son of Hiroshi Fujioka, and even has his own theme song, just like his dad.
Sega Shiro, Sega Shiro, Sega Shiro.
It is pretty sad when we see the flashback of Segata going off and exploding though, leaving Sega and his unnamed mother behind.
Hey, wait a minute. This definitely isn't Sakura. Segata is evidently a bit of a player. Anyways, in the second commercial, Sega Shiro is faced by a brand new villain, Hatan Shiro. Not sure if they're related or not. This is actually another pun. Hatan actually means bankruptcy, so in a sense, Sega is fighting bankruptcy here. How fitting. Hatan is another obvious Kamen Rider send-up, furthering the connection to the original ads. Our hero manages to defeat the corporate failure metaphor when suddenly a familiar figure appears behind him.
Oh my god, it's him!
Segata remarks on how his son has grown and is now strong enough to be the defender of Sega. Segata considers himself a symbol of the old Sega. After all, in Segata's day, Sega was all about games. They even made hardware, but now they make like dartboards and stuff. For this reason, Segata tells his son to let go of the grief over his death and throw him into Saturn, like the planet Saturn.
Oh, it was a dream. Or was it? Overall, I'm a huge fan of this ad campaign. It was especially nice to see Hiroshi Fujioka in the role of Segata Sanshiro again after all this time.
Did you know that he also performed his theme song in character at an event called Sega Fest in 2019?
Yo, what? Oh my god, this goes so hard. My perception of Segata Sanshiro used to be that he'd forever remain a piece of trivia, only remembered by people like me, whose idea of fun is watching Japanese video game commercials from the mid-90s, but the fact that Sega themselves have been so eager to continually reference him since then gives me hope that maybe, just maybe, his memory will be preserved for future generations to enjoy.
If you learned something about Segata Sanshiro in this video, or even if you didn't know he existed before you clicked on it, then I think it's safe to say we've done our part. Although, I hope you know, you're now obligated to boot up a Sega Saturn in the next 24 hours, for your own safety.
I'm Jonii.
And I'm Devnul.
And you must play Sega Saturn. Peace.
Segata Sanshiro, Segata Sanshiro, Sega Saturn Shiro.
Oof, hello everyone, and thank you for watching our video on Segata Sanshiro. I, of course, want to give a big thanks to Devnul, who played a huge part in making this video happen, was very kind reaching out to me to ask if I wanted to work together. I've been watching his stuff for a while. I definitely recommend you go give it a look. You can start with the video that he made about Segata Sanshiro on his channel, which I am also in. You'll be learning a couple different things than the things in this video. Life's been real hectic lately, which might partially account for why I'm so bad at uploading. But I'm happy that this is a video I get to show you. I had a lot of fun going back through it during the editing process. The Patreon billing is paused right now because, like I said, things have been hectic, so I haven't been able to prepare the commentaries and other things that are supposed to be on there, so I didn't feel super good about charging people when the things that I said were going to be on there aren't on there. But I do still want to give a shout out to the people that are currently subscribed to the Patreon. The $1 patrons are on screen, and the $3 patrons who paid to have their names read out loud are, of course, Angel Thing Jenny, Anna Picard, Archagent Everlasting, Bam Bam Dabuha, Bowties and Glasses, Cowboys in the Hood, Dorochi, Devnul, hello, Don Rouse, drawn by AJ, etc., etc., Ice Crash Radio, Inutsu, Jakey97, Mass Rivers, Mustache Duct Tape, Pack Jeff, Pigpen, Rams, Tailored Muffin, and Tanner McGuire. I'll let you know if the Patreon's back up for active participation anytime soon, but for now, yeah, I wanted to thank all the people who have stuck with it. I really appreciate it. Can't promise when I'll upload again, but thank you very much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. Now I gotta go to work. Bye.